Hi, my name is Nick Fulton. I'm a swimming student athlete at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I represent the student athletes of the Big Ten Conference and also currently serve as the chair of the Division I National Student Athlete Advisory Committee.
My name is Scott Croft. I'm a track and cross-country student athlete at Illinois State University. I represent the student athletes of the Missouri Valley Conference, and I currently serve as the vice chair of the Division I SAC.
In the next few minutes, Scott and I would like to go over some items that are vital for you to know as Division I student athlete. First and foremost, it's really important to recognize that you have a voice as a student athlete. Think about it. If it weren't for us as student athletes, our athletic departments, as well as the NCAA, would not exist.
The Division I Student Athlete Advisory Committee exists to represent the more than 160,000 Division I student athletes on a national level. As a committee, we are made up of 31 student athletes, one representing each Division I multi-sport conference. In addition to the 3 times a year that our committee meets, we also attend meetings around the country to speak with NCAA committees, athletic directors, compliance officers, conference staff, and presidents.
Each of the groups we meet with is eager to hear our perspective on issues affecting student-athlete well-being. We talk about issues from the 20-hour practice rule and concussion policies all the way to hot topics such as amateurism and financial aid. As student athletes, we all have an interest in and an opinion about how these issues are resolved. So how does our voice fit into the whole process?
Alright, here's an example. Jane Schmo has a problem at State University, which belongs to the extra big conference. She doesn't feel that the 20 hours a week she is allowed to practice are enough for her to achieve peak performance. She wants to do something about it.
So, she brings it to her campus SAC meeting and finds out that others agree with her. Tom Smith, the State University SAC representative to the extra big conference, says, "Hey, we have a conference SAC meeting coming up. I'll definitely bring this issue up then."
When Tom gets to the conference SAC meeting, he brings up the issue and finds out that student athletes at every school in the conference have voiced a concern about limited practice time. Stacy Jones, the extra big conference representative to Division I SAC, says, "Hey, the D1 SAC is meeting next month. I'm definitely going to bring this up at that meeting." Also, now conference officials recognize that student athletes have an issue, and they may opt to propose and sponsor a rule change.
Stacy gets to the D1 SAC meeting and finds out that a lot of the conferences are receiving similar feedback from their student athletes. D1 SAC then lets a different NCAA committee know that several conferences are dealing with this issue. That committee says, "Okay, let's propose a rule change. Let's propose that student athletes will now be able to practice up to 30 hours a week."
So all of a sudden, after just involving 3 people, people on a national level know about a concern that Jane Schmo noticed at State University. It's important to know that if you have an issue, you don't need to wait for a formal meeting. You can always reach out to your Jane, Tom, or Stacy.
After that rule change is proposed by that NCAA committee, it goes out for feedback to conferences as well as every Division I campus. This generally takes place during the fall. Your compliance officer, as well as your conference SAC representative, should have all the information about each proposal for the year. This is your opportunity to either say, "Yes, we support this," or "No, we oppose this." Your campus SAC sends its opinion on this proposal, as well as a few others, to the conference SAC, then to the Division I SAC, where we all say, "Wow, all 31 conferences thought this was an issue." Division I SAC can now say, "Student athletes support this rule change."
From there, the proposal moves through the legislative process, and eventually, after getting support from administrators across D1 and getting enough votes from the Legislative Council, it becomes an NCAA rule.
That was just one example of how the legislative process works. And oftentimes it's not quite that easy to get so many people to agree on the same thing. But it does illustrate how the student-athlete voice fits into the NCAA governance process.
Each year, there are various proposals put forth by different groups within the NCAA membership, such as Division I conferences or NCAA committees. Our biggest responsibility as a Division I SAC is to take positions on those legislative proposals and determine a position that is representative of all Division I student athletes, something that we cannot do without communication with all Division I schools. This is why each campus SAC is so important. We need you to represent your school's opinions each and every fall.
We realize that this may be the first time you are hearing about the Division I SAC, and you may not know who your conference representative is. We challenge you as fellow student athletes to get to know your SAC representatives and keep in touch with them about your thoughts on the direction of our division. We want to make it as easy as possible to get in contact with the D1 SAC and for you to know what's going on at a national level that impacts you as a student athlete.
D1 SAC has a website, a Twitter account, and a Facebook account. We encourage you to use any or all of these means to get in contact with us whenever you have a question.
We really hope that this video has been helpful in illustrating that you have a voice and we need to hear it. It doesn't matter if you're a softball or a basketball student athlete, a pole vaulter or a distance runner, we stand together. One voice, one division, we are all Division I student athletes.